I want to focus on the GoPro. Okay, GoPro is a little different setup, not much different, but a little different setup, right? I've been focusing on the iPhones for the last 3 or 4 weeks. If we get a chance, I want to cover, like I said, I want to cover the GoPro. I want to cover the sharing station. If time allows, I will cover the Apple TV with the GoPro. And depending on how fast I go, but I'm not going to make any promises. I'll even go into SCANPIX a little, but I don't want to make it wait too long. If I'm going over my usual time, I'm just going to stop wherever I'm at because it's too much information for y'all. Okay, so I want to encourage everybody to please utilize the chat room. In the chat room, if you scroll up all the way to the top, I put some valuable resources for everybody, right? I start off with speed tests because I believe it's important for people to know their speed once you're at a venue. I'll show you how that works. It's important to know your upload speed. Upload speed matters in the sense of you sharing your files. Whether you have Wi-Fi from the venue, whether you have your own data that you're paying through your carrier, it matters, right? And I have everybody do or perform a speed test at the very beginning because you'll know whether you'll be able to share during that event or not. Because if you're prepared for it and you're like, man, I don't have sufficient speed, or this, whatever venue you're at, whatever location, if you're out in the boondocks and you're not getting sufficient speed, then you're going to know in your head, look, most of these videos tonight, I'm going to try to just share them via airdrop. I'm going to have everybody punch in their phone number and let them know that they're going to get their video a little bit later because there's just no cell phone signal here and there's poor Wi-Fi, right? I also want to let you know that, you guys are paying subscribers. So I'm not sure if a lot of you are aware, but TouchPix built in a free feature that's called SCANPIX, where you're able to share without the internet, right? I'm on the YouTube page right now, as you guys can see on your screen. If you look at the, looks like it's the fifth thumbnail where it says share internet free. That's a good intro video to check out about SCANPIX if you're interested. I don't know if I'm going to get to cover that today with the GoPro, but I'll do my best. But it's a way where you don't need to spend money on additional hotspots. You don't need to spend money on any cell service for your iPad. You don't have to rely on venues Wi-Fi. You just buy a router and it'll work. It works reliably and it works beautifully. It means that you can share any video without the use of internet, right? You're using the router as a hub so people can have access to get direct access to their file. It works great. So definitely, I want to promote our support line and our support hours. We're open 7 days a week. We're the only app that actually is open 7 days a week where you can talk to a live person from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Our toll-free number is 1-833-646-9955. If you happen to call and you do get a message line during those hours, do not get discouraged. Somebody will call you back by the end of their shift, right? During the week, you may get a person named Vince. You may get Veronica. You may get Charles. You might get myself, which is DJ1, or you might get the developer himself. Sometimes jumps in when it's really busy. So we're here to help you. TouchPix is a very easy app. It's the most popular app on the iOS platform because it's super easy to use once you get it down. Can you make mistakes? Will you make mistakes? If you're starting out, you probably will. But if you take your time and you prepare, you watch some webinars, you watch some YouTube videos, I think you're gonna be successful. But preparation is key, right? I also linked a link for our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is also a gold mine for information and knowledge. If you're having issues, you can always post a question there. We have moderators. I'm one of the moderators in the group, but there's other moderators that will jump in and try to answer your questions if it's something urgent, right? So please join the group, but also if you haven't joined, you do need to provide a valid email address. We have a lot of bots that come in and try to spam the group, so we require a valid email address to be accepted. We're not going to spam you. We're not promoting to you guys. It's just for us to know that you are a human being and you're not a bot trying to come into our group and spam it with content, right? So feel free to put in a valid email address. That way we know there's a person behind it. The link below that is a YouTube page, which is a TouchPix YouTube page, where you'll find short videos here. There'll be short videos, depending on what you want to learn. You don't have to go through my long, lengthy webinars because they tend to go up to 2 hours sometimes, right? These short videos will focus strictly on what you want to do, whether it's setting up your first event, whether it's doing the video effects, whether it's the sharing station. They're designed to keep you up and going as quickly as possible. The second YouTube video is my personal YouTube video where I upload all these webinars, and the event that I covered something and you feel that I went too fast or you want a refresher, go to my YouTube page. I typically title these webinars by the event date, which today is the 26th, and depending on the device I'm covering. Today I will be covering a GoPro 10. I have not done a GoPro 10 in quite some time, and I'll try to go through every single step that you need to know as far as setting up a GoPro 10. Okay. Other than that, I want to try to get through as much content as possible, unless there's like a crucial question that you can't wait till the very end. You know, please, let's reserve some of these questions to the end. But if you have a question that you just can't wait, feel free to unmute yourself and I'll take care of you. You know, we're just trying to be, I value your time, but I also value the other people's time that have taken the time to jump on. And I don't want to stall too much. I just want to get through it. And for the people that have questions, I'll take all the time necessary at the end to answer your questions, so you won't be ignored. Okay. I see that Tia's on the chat. I appreciate you, Tia. I know you don't have to be here, but you've been a great help the last couple of webinars, or probably even longer. But you know, I definitely appreciate you. Tia is an expert user on our group. She's been she's been on. She's been helping out, answering questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the chat, and Tia will see them and help you answer them. But like I said, if there's a urgent need for a certain thing that I'm covering and you guys can't wait, just unmute yourself and say, "Hey, DJ, I got a question." And definitely, I'm all for questions. Okay. So I just need to know, out of the 33 people that are on this call, if you do have an iPhone, type in the number 1. If you're using a GoPro, type in the number 2. I want to see, how many people I am working with today. And like I said, I will try to cover the setups. And for the iPhone users, don't get discouraged. Everything that I'm going to do for the GoPro, you're going to do on the iPhone. There's just one extra step for the GoPro, which is activating the GoPro at the very end. But everything else is exactly the same. And I'll prompt you how that goes. I see somebody says iPad. Great. So I'm gonna start with that. I'm gonna start with the recommended device. And Loretta, you can use an iPad. Do we recommend it? That's something we really don't recommend, and I'll tell you why. Okay, iPads are great for sharing kiosks. They make great sharing kiosks. They make great devices to control your GoPro. Unfortunately, the iPad, there's just a lot of variations of iPads. It really depends which one you have, right? The most expensive iPads tend to have the camera that's recommended, right? Because right now, what we recommend is iPhone 11, 12, and 13. It doesn't matter what submodel. It can be the basic, it can be the Pro or the Pro Max. They all have identical video recording cameras, right? They have what's called the ultra wide lens, and it has the capability of recording at a slow frame rate, which is 120 frames per second. I believe the new iPad Pro, the very new iPad Pro, has that capability. A lot of other iPads, you will find that you will not have the ultra wide lens. So a big complaint that I get from the iPad users that don't have the iPad Pros with the ultra wide lens, typically I get a call during the weekend saying, "Hey, how come my videos are looking very zoomed in," right? Well, you don't have the ultra wide lens. Also check that your iPad Pro is capable of going up to 120 frames per second. And I'll make a keynote of that, and I'll mention to you where that is in this video. That way you can actually see if your iPad has that. And if your iPad has that, by all means, use it. The other reason I discourage people from using an iPad is many of us have been doing events for quite some time now, and I can assure you, my events, I've had people knock down my devices or my phone or my arm falls down, and I can't even imagine an iPad surviving that fall, right? If the iPad falls and breaks, you're going to be pretty upset, and it's going to be quite an expense to get that repaired. Typically, iPhones or GoPros are better suited because they're smaller, they're compact, and depending on the case that you buy, sometimes it's great. But Loretta, I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just kind of pointing it out. That way, you know as much information as you have as we move forward. But definitely, thank you for sharing what you have, and I'm sure that you're gonna make the best decision for your business moving forward. And let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start a little unorthodox here. I'm going to start with let's start with a speed test, right? Because I want to explain what a speed test is. So this is a website that you can go to, or you can download the app, right? There is an app. You just go to the App Store and type in speed test. And this is going to measure your Wi-Fi speed, or if you're operating off your cell phone signal, right? This is going to measure the speed. This is going to tell you before every event, you should be able to go here and run a test at the venue where your event's going to be to tell you whether or not you're going to be okay on sharing and download speed. It's great download speed for where I'm located, but that's not very important for our app, right? Our app is a cloud-based app, so it needs to deliver the files up to the Amazon Web Services servers that we use. And right now, it looks like my upload speed is hitting about 21, right? So the recommended speed that we recommend to be able to share with zero issues, I recommend a 7. Anything above a 7, you should be fine, right? If you get an upload speed under a 7, then that's probably going to tell you right before your event that you might want to see if you can share your files, or as many files as possible, via AirDrop, because AirDrop is direct from iPhone to iPhone or iPhone to iPad or whatever the case may be. You want to share the majority of them that way. The people that have Androids, you're still going to share them via text, but those people are probably not going to receive their files until you reach a location where you have a better connection. You'll still be able to share them. What happens is when people type in their phone numbers, they'll go into what's called a queue, and our software will memorize the video and the phone number that was inputted earlier that day. And once you get to a better location, it starts dumping them out. It should send them out with no issues, okay? So hopefully that made sense. This is a great resource for you guys, and always use speed test for that matter. So I'm definitely going to recommend you guys, download the app. That way you guys are prepared, okay? So I'm going to go over to our TouchPix website and recommend a couple of things here. This is our website. So if you haven't logged in, this is your first time using TouchPix, go over to the login tab up here to the top right. And if you haven't registered for an account, register for an account. Obviously, you need your name, last name, and the important piece is your email address, right? So the email address, I would recommend you guys use an email address that's associated to your device. If you're using an iPad or an iPhone, it's usually the Apple ID email address, the one that you want to register for. So I would recommend, if you are brand new to this and you have a personal phone or an iPad, that already has a personal Apple ID email address. If you're going to be using this as a business, I'd recommend you create a Apple ID with your business name. That way, your personal pictures, your personal information doesn't carry over to other devices in the event that you want to add further devices, right? Because everything from that iCloud is going to go over to this iCloud. So keep them separate. So register with a separate email address, right? And that email address should be another Apple ID email address that you can log in and log off from that device for your business only. Once you do that, you're going to log in, right? It'll send you an email. You'll create a password and you'll be able to log in. This is called our dashboard right here. On our dashboard, you're probably going to live here about 80% of the time. This is where you create your events, right? And I'm going to cover some of these tabs first. Let's go over to pricing. A lot of people say, well, what is TouchPix cost? So this is a subscription-based app. Please take note that I said subscription. It's no different than Apple Music, Spotify, Netflix. Is subscription-based. It's your responsibility to turn it off and on. Does it mean that you have to be in a contract? No, this is not a contractual obligation. It means that you pay as you go. But be mindful, you also have to stop it. Even if you stop it and you're not a paying customer after the second week, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to log into your account, right? To look at your past galleries or your past events. It just means that moving forward until you pay whatever subscription best fits your needs, most of your videos will be watermarked, right? That's how it works. So what does it include on our weekly professional? For $50, you get to use it for an entire week. It could be for 360s. If you have more than one unit, you can use it on more than one unit. If you have photo booths, iPad photo booths that you can do as drop-off units for digital only or printing, you can also run it for those devices as long as you have separate devices for it, right? iPads for those iPad booths. So for $50, you get a full week, unlimited events, unlimited amount of devices that have the same Apple ID, like it specifies here, using the same Apple account, right? This plan is great for beginners, for people that are just getting into the industry. You might not have established clients yet. You're still testing the waters and you don't want to commit long-term. So $50 covers you the week. And please be mindful that this money here should not be coming out of your pocket. These prices should be incorporated into your rental fees to some degree, right? So just be mindful. None of this should be out of pocket. They should be calculated on how you're gonna charge your client, and they should be covered in your rental agreement. The monthly professional package, you'll see that there's a little bit more savings than going weekly, right? It's a little less, $140. It gives you all the benefits that the weekly does, unlimited events, same Apple ID. And then we have our yearly professional for businesses that have multiple iPad booths. They may have one or two spinners and they get booked frequently. This makes better sense because there's more cost savings, right? We do have a hidden package. If you go over to the shop tab, I'm going to go through some of these stuff. We will be selling some overlays pretty soon. So the library is going to start increasing for overlays for the people that don't know how to design. So we'll make some edible overlays where you can just do some quick edits and use them for yourself. I'm not going to go over backgrounds because a lot of people are not here yet. This is mainly used for green screen 360 or mainly green screen 360s. It's for video, but it has a lot of background effects. These are optional. You don't need to purchase any of these. The sparkle light leaks and confetti, it's a one-time purchase. These are pre-formatted effects. TouchPix already has tons of free effects that it comes with, but if you want to take it a level up and look a little bit more professional, you can start looking at these sparkle light leaks and effects. One-time fee, you can use it as long as you want. It doesn't really matter how many events you do. You can use them for every event. It's not going to charge you more than once. It's basically you own to keep them. The subscription that I want to cover is this white label subscription, a yearly fee. For people that are going to be joining us, we're going to be at the Las Vegas Photo Booth DJ Expo, February the 21st. I believe it starts the 21st to the 24th of the same week, right? They have the biggest Photo Booth Expo and DJ Expo in Las Vegas at the South Point Hotel. It happens once a year. If you guys are in the industry, I'd recommend you guys go. You guys can find out all the information for this show at photoboothexpo.com, right? They have an awesome room rate. You can get rooms for as little as like $70 with the group discount, but every single manufacturer will be there. Every single provider will be there. We're going to be there. We're going to have, it looks like we're going to have multiple stands. We're going to be showcasing a lot of stuff. People are going to be very happy after this show with TouchPix because there's a lot of new things that I wish I can share with you now that are coming out that are just going to change the way TouchPix is used, right? Specifically on the photo booth side and on the 360 side, there's tons of new features that are going to be great. And for now, there is the subscriptions are staying the same. There hasn't been any talk about increasing any subscriptions. So definitely it's a show that you're not going to want to miss. You can also find backdrop vendors, people who sell backdrops, props, different style of photo booths, iPad booth. It's definitely a exhibit that you're not going to want to miss. It's the one to go to out of all of them. So that show, we're going to be offering this white label subscription. Normally we sell it for $1,200. It's probably going to go down. We haven't finalized it, but we're looking to drop it to $800 a year. The white label subscription is probably the best subscription you can own on our platform, right? Because if you are a business and you only own one spinner, but you have a phenomenal website where you're getting inquiries to book all the time, and your photo booth or your video booth is booking and you're just not available because you only have one spinner, right? This is a way where you can subcontract another photo booth company. We recommend that you network with somebody in your area. We do this a lot in the photo booth industry. We pick a company that we feel has similar output to ours. We connect with that company, and if they have availability when we're booked, we say, hey, are you interested in white labeling an event for me? I already have a client that booked me. All you have to do is show up with your equipment, run the event. Obviously, this takes a lot of trust between both of you, because that other company cannot go in there as their company. They're working for you. They're basically being subcontracted to work for you. And obviously the money issue, you both can make really good money doing this, right? You guys can settle on the fee. Typically, when I get white labeled by another company, they pay me my normal rates. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be getting your normal rates, if possible. Additionally, the only caveat is that I can't go brand my business if I'm being subcontracted by another company, because that's their client. They got the booking through their platform. Everything goes to them. The gallery goes to them. Branding goes to them. But what this means is, if you buy this subscription, I'll create the event under my account. As soon as I'm done creating this event, all I have to do is text or email the QR code to the other company that is working with me. As long as they have those devices, they can activate this event and move forward, right? So this is very convenient because you can be doing this with other companies. You can subcontract for your business. Again, the key feature here is this helps your business. This is a feature for your business. Doesn't mean that people can share accounts, because it's been getting a reputation of being used improperly. So we're finding these accounts, and unfortunately, we're shutting people down for improper use. But in the event that your business is scaling up, you definitely want to grab this white label event, because it no longer ties it to your Apple ID. It ties it to your master account, meaning that your account will have all the details of how to proceed with this event, as far as setting up the event, what experience, the music, the overlay. It's going to be on your account. You should not be giving other people web access to your account, because then they have a lot of power of your subscription. And especially if they're not trustworthy people, they can really cause you and your business some damage on that end. Okay. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense for you. Does that make sense? You guys have questions on that before I move on? Perfect. So now I'm going to move on to, I'm going to go back to our homepage. That way you guys can see how to navigate that. Okay, so I'm going to log into my account. It looks like I already logged into my account, right? I'm going to go over to the events tab. And if I go over to the events tab, you're going to see these are all my events right here, right? I have pages of a few events that I've done, and these will remain on your account whether you have an active subscription or you have a inactive subscription. These are your events, your account. So you can go into any of these, right? You can go into any of these and click on gallery, and you'll have access to galleries, right? These galleries can live up here for up to a year, I believe, right? Depending on how many galleries you have, but you will have a lot of access to a lot of these galleries, and make sure that you download all your content within a year. So the way you download your content, right, is you click on gallery. This is the gallery tab. You can actually click on this download button and it'll download every single video as a zip file. Or you can go to public URL, right? Public URL is basically the link that you're going to give your paying client. So if a client wants all their videos, all you have to do is click public URL, copy this, highlight the entire web address, copy it, right click and hit copy, and send them this link via email or text, and they'll have their entire video category here, right? So this is what they'll see, and they can download it from here as well. So hopefully that made sense for you guys. Like I said, if you guys have questions, just let me know on that. And this is what you do to start an event, okay? So up here, there's a tab that says create an event. There's two ways of doing an event. There's create an event from a preset, create an event, a custom event. I'm going to explain briefly what a preset event is. The preset event, I think, is it's not my preferred method. It's not my preferred method because you're not understanding the way the software works entirely. It's more like a quick little cheat code, right? So it's going to ask you 3 questions, and based on how you answer those 3 questions, it's going to be done in creating your event. The reason I don't like to show it this way is because it kind of skips over how to brand it with your logos. It skips over how to add music, your own music, right? And if you're already paying TouchPix a subscription, you want it to, you want to execute the software. You want to make sure that you execute everything with your own personalized branding. You don't want TouchPix branding on there. You can change all this, but if you're going to go back in there and change it, then you might as well just learn how to do an event from the very beginning. So just answer some of these questions, 3 clicks, and you'll be done. I'm going to show you the legitimate way of doing an event, create an event from a custom event. So what TouchPix really is, technically, it's basically a long form. Once you fill out this long form, you're done. As long as you know what you're doing and how you're filling it out, you're going to be successful at setting up an event. So I'm going to call this event webinar. I'm going to date it today's date, 1/26, but you can call this event Sharon's wedding, whatever the event may be called, Sweet 16, whatever whatever, something that you're going to know how to identify. Language is going to be English, obviously, unless you're somewhere in Latin America, it may be different. Country, it's going to be USA. Unless you're somewhere outside the US, then you're going to want to put whatever country you're in. It's important to realize and put in your country because it may affect the way it's text messaging. If it's putting in the 1 or the international code. So make sure you put the right one. As you scroll down this list, the next list is countdown. Notice if I hover over the question mark, it's always going to explain what it means. So the countdown just means like any other photo booth. If I were to go into a photo booth, when I hit start, it's going to give me a 4-second countdown before it actually starts recording. Again, be mindful that TouchPix originally is a photo booth software that just has 360 video features built in. So based on the countdown, and because we're using it for 360, I'm going to set the countdown over to 2 seconds. I think that's enough, right? The beep sound just means that for every second, you're going to get a sound that represents every single second. It's an auditory sound. The mirror overlay preview, I'm going to deselect it. You do not need this, right? If you leave it on by mistake, it's not going to do anything on your output that's going to cause an error. It just affects the live view, right? It's going to affect the live view, and it's going to look like it's backwards when you're looking at it through your device. So I recommend leave it checked off, but it's not that big of a deal if you forget about it and leave it checked on, right? Just don't panic if it looks a little weird while it's recording, but at the output, it's going to be perfect. Don't worry about that. And down here is where you choose your camera. Many people who are using GoPros like we're using today, they leave this blank, but I'm going to go ahead and check it off because I always like to prepare people in the event that you forget your GoPro cable, that your battery from your GoPro is not charged, or your backup batteries that you brought with you, you forgot to charge them. I want to show you how to do things where if you run into a situation where your GoPro is malfunctioning, you can pivot over to your iPhone and finish off the event without any hiccups. So I'm going to just click on rear camera, and I recommend everybody just follow along, and I'll explain the importance of that as I go through the setup. Camera exposure, I leave that enabled.
Excuse me, can I ask a quick question? If
Sure.
you're using an iPhone, should you still click front or rear camera?
Yeah, because if you're using an iPhone, the rear camera is what's recommended. We never want to use the front camera. The rear camera is your bread and butter. It has the higher resolution camera. It has the ultra wide lens. So it's a much better camera than your front camera.
Thank you.
All right, so camera exposure, what that means is if you don't have sufficient lighting, because a lot of people, they think the 360 business is great, right? Because they might have seen it somewhere, you might have seen videos online. Then you start buying the platform and you realize, oh man, the platform is about $3,000 or $4,000, right? Then you start buying your devices and you're like, oh man, it comes another couple $1,000 in devices. And then you start buying props and backdrops and you're seeing stuff add up, right? Some people also don't realize that lighting also is very important. And initially when you're starting, a lot of people don't start off with adequate lighting. So your camera exposure just allows you to go into your camera settings and set the exposure at a higher ISO, like a DSLR camera, right? And higher ISO and higher exposure to compensate for low lightings. Obviously, you want to minimize the use of that because sometimes that introduces grainy video, but it also tells you how important external lighting can be or is. So always leave this on in the event that you just need to give it a little boost. If you don't have adequate lighting, it'll just give you a setting where you can go in there and change it manually. QR app protection, leave this off. You don't need this. This is not designed for the 360 booth. It's more so designed for iPad booths, specifically people who do drop-off units. A lot of people who use our software, they use our iPad photo booth as drop-off units, right? Because they drop it off for 2 or 3 hours at a party, and then they'll just do pickups. They'll only do digital only. Quick way to make money. A lot of people do it in the industry very successfully at that. Okay, so leave this off. You do not need it for slow motion. Because this app also is a photo booth app, you're gonna see printing options. So for the purposes of today's webinar, we're doing video. So we're setting it to no printing for video. We can't print video, obviously. So make sure you tell the software not to look for a printer. As we scroll down over to functions, so these are the functions that TouchPix offers. It gives you a function of doing photos, boomerangs, GIFs, videos, or slow-mo. We're only interested in doing slow-mo. Everything else we want to deactivate. That way the software is not looking for a photo booth template or a boomerang template or a GIF template or a video template. It's only looking for a slow motion template. Make sure that is selected, right? So right below here is your slow-mo recording time. This is where you're telling the software how long you want to record for. It does not mean that this is how long your video is going to be at the end. They're just telling the software how long do you want to record for, depending on the length of time, right? Your video is going to be shorter or longer, right? For the purposes of this webinar, I'm going to leave it at 4.5, right? But you can, if you're using a GoPro, I've gone up to as high as 5.5 or 6. Typically 5 is a good number, 5.5 is a good number. Again, it doesn't mean that the length, that's going to be the length of the total video. It just means it's going to record for 5 seconds. Then the software is going to process the effects, add the slow motion, add the speed effect. And then if you check this off, slow-mo boomerang, what this means is after it's done adding the effect, this effect at the end of the video playback, the video is going to play in reverse fashion. It'll play in reverse fashion, which once it reaches the end, and it'll go backwards. So this is a cool feature. I'm going to leave that checked on, right? The next area here is audio file, right? Audio file, you have 3 places where you can add audio. You can add audio from your computer. Again, I forgot to mention, once you're doing this setup process, I recommend you use a PC laptop or a Mac, right? To set up TouchPix. The reason I do that is because you can probably get away with doing this setup on an iPad, but if you're brand new, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle not on this side, but you're going to struggle with the artwork side, how to load up the artwork. So we recommend people to always start setting up an event on the PC or a Mac operating system. Then if once you get very familiar, if you're able to navigate and find out some of the tricks on how to do it on your iPad, then by all means, right? But that doesn't mean that you need to take a laptop with you, because all of this, you're supposed to set up your event before your actual event. For example, if I have an event tomorrow, I'm more than likely testing my event a day before my event to make sure everything works great. There's no harm in testing the day before. It actually prepares you on how things are going to look and making sure that everything's on point before you show up to your event. So what I recommend before I click choose file, right, I'm going to go to my desktop real quick. And this is my desktop. I'm going to see if you guys are able to see that. Yeah, you guys are able to see my desktop. So on my desktop, all I do, I'm using a PC. I right click on the desktop, go over to where it says new folder, and then I typically name this folder TouchPix files. As you can see, I already have a folder here called TouchPix files. And in that folder, when I'm preparing for my event, I'm going to put in my logo, my TouchPix logo. I'm going to put in my song that I want to use, an MP3 song, because TouchPix only uses MP3 music, doesn't use Apple Music M4A files. It needs to be an MP3 file, right? And I'm going to put my artwork, whatever artwork I want to use for that event, on here, ready to go under a TouchPix files. The reason I do that is for the following reason. As you can see, I'm going to toggle back over to the setup and make sure that you guys are able to see that screen. The reason I do that is because once I reach here, audio file, it says choose a file. It's going to ask me where I want, it's going to ask me where I want where is that file located? So as you can see here, I'm going to my desktop, TouchPix files. Once I pick it the first time, once I select that folder the first time, it's always going to open in that folder, and it just makes it a lot cleaner, more organized. When you have everything organized in one spot, you're not digging around your download folders, you're not looking into your desktop folder, you're not, or sometimes you'll be like, where did I save that file? I might have saved it in a different folder. This kind of centralizes all your files that you're working with and creates just a better workflow. So in this case, I'm going to use this this track here called Trap MP3. If I hover over this MP3, you're going to look at the right here where it says item type. You can see it's an MP3 file. You can see the size, 748, and you can even see the length of the song. It's 30 seconds long, right? So I'm going to select it, hit open, and I see the trap loaded right on here. These are the accepted file types, MP3 song, and it can't be larger than 512 megabytes, right? As I scroll down, you're going to see this feature here called Screen Flash. We do not use Screen Flash. This is a photo booth function. Leave that blank, right? So now we're scrolling down even more under it's called timeouts. These numbers represents the number of seconds, right? These numbers represent number of seconds in the event that you're using a photo booth or a video booth. Typically photo booth, we have a location where you can add props at the end, where it gives you a thank you screen. It gives you a section of how long it takes to add a prop, right? These numbers represent seconds. So we'll give you 12 seconds for editing. We'll give you up to 8 seconds to see a thank you screen and another 10 seconds to add props. But because we're using this for slow motion and we want to speed up the process, the editing section needs to be at 0. The thank you section needs to be at 0. The prop section also needs to be at 0. We're not interested in these features. This is for slow motion only. The only timing issue that's important here is sharing. This is for your sharing station. You're saying that you're going to allow your guest up to 12 seconds to input their email or their phone numbers. So leave this, any number above 6. 6 and above, you'll be fine. You can leave it at 12, you put it at 6, all a preference, but I would recommend just leave it as is and make sure you zero out the rest, okay? As we scroll down, now we're in the sharing portion. So now these are the ways you can share with TouchPix. TouchPix gives you a lot of different options to share. The most popular option is email. I don't I don't recommend using Facebook, and I don't recommend using Twitter, and I actually don't use copy. You can use any of these other ones, right? The reason I don't recommend Facebook and Twitter is because if you select, or your guest selects, they want to share it via Facebook, they're going to be required to type in their entire Facebook email address and password. Not a lot of people know their Facebook email address and password, right? It's much easier to share it via SMS, which means SMS is for text messaging, or email, because once they receive the email or text message, they can upload it onto their own social media platforms on their device. No need for that, right? Download is important. I'm going to explain to you what download is shortly, but AirDrop is probably the best way to share if your guests have iPhones, because it's an instantaneous share and it's extremely quick. You can share via QR code for Android users, but you also need to figure out whether or not you have adequate upload internet speed if you're going to share via QR, right? General lets you share by different platforms. You can use Messenger, you can use iMessage, you have other options to share. The reason I say download needs to be checked off, because mainly a lot of people who use iPhones, right, when you receive a message, you're not actually being sent a video through text message. What you're being sent is a hyperlink. The hyperlink, it's actually the high quality video that's uploaded onto our server. So if you get a link on your iPhone sent via text, once you click on that link, normally, unless you have your iPhone set up differently, normally when you click on the link, the Safari web browser is the web browser that opens up naturally, because it's an iPhone web browser. Well, the Safari web browser doesn't like external links, and doesn't like, it won't allow you to save that video. You need to make sure you hit this download box, because it's telling that link in that web browser that once you click on it, you will see a download button appear right below the video. So this will give you a download button on the Safari web browser. If you don't see a download button on your file, you might want to come back in here and make sure this is checked off. Okay. So email, WhatsApp. WhatsApp is great for international clients that are coming out of anywhere. Text message works great. Download, AirDrop, QR code in general. You can leave all of these checked out. I typically use all of this with the exception of email for 360. Sometimes I'll leave email on there, but it doesn't really make a difference. But these are the ones that I'm going to show you for today's webinar. Edit screen, you do not leave, it needs to be blank. Don't select anything here, leave it blank. Again, if you hover over the edit question mark, it tells you that it's to add or draw something, or filters, stickers. It's mainly used for photo booth, it's not for the slow motion video, okay? The other key important aspect is this box here, in-app gallery. This in-app gallery is very important. This does need to be checked off, okay? This is gonna control your sharing station. This is a very important for you to check, leave it checked off, and that's all you need to do on that, okay? So depending on what options you selected here, right? When a guest sends an email, you can change the email subject to reflect your business. You can put, you know, XYZ photo booth, right? And you could actually change the text that's being received once they receive that email. Typically, it's thank you for using. You can change this to XYZ photo booth, or video booth, or 360 booth. You can find the, you know, and it'll have a link here at the bottom. I usually keep all these 4 boxes very consistent. Notice that for our text messaging provider, we use a company called Twilio. And I remember the week of the holidays, right? One of the busiest photo booth weeks that we have. TouchPix sent over 20,000 emails in one day. I mean, sorry, 20,000 text messages in one day. So naturally, our provider Twilio, that's a high number of text messages that went out. So they thought that, you know, some of these were being spam. We're spamming people, because a lot of these messages here included hashtags. It included, let me see, let me mute. I hear an open mic. Okay, so it included hashtags, it included the @ button. So try to refrain from using @ or hashtag or even dashes. Go ahead, you can feel free to put your phone number, but don't use any dashes. And if you're gonna make a reference to a Instagram, just don't put pound, just hit Instagram and just put the Instagram handle right next to it. Don't use any special characters, because if you do use special characters, it might not let you move forward from here. And if it does let you move forward from here, you might have some issues in having that text message delivered. Okay, you can get creative with how you're going to present it in text, but stay away from special characters. It just makes it a lot easier in delivering the content. Like I said, typically these 4 boxes remain the same. Okay, so you want to definitely, you know, keep it consistent. As we scroll down here, we're in the props section. We're not using any props. Again, this is a photo booth feature. Leave it at no props. Okay, we're now in the branding section. We're almost done. In the branding section, you're going to want to put your company name, XYZ photo booth, right? What you want to pay attention to here is these 3 files right here, right? The app logo, whatever file you put in here, right, is going to show up on your sharing station. And it's also going to show up on your Apple TV if you're using an Apple TV. So whatever logo you throw here, it's going to show up sharing station and Apple TV. Whatever logo you use here for the app background, this is what your iPhone or your iPad is going to have. And the TouchPix controls are going to hover over it. So it's a way of branding the app with your logo. So people don't know what you're using. People just see your logo on how to get a hold of you, right? And then there's the web gallery background. I just showed you a web gallery background and I had a logo in there and it was my logo. So whatever logo you throw on here, when you give your client that link for the web gallery, you're giving them a web gallery that looks branded to your company name. What I do in this case, and you don't have to do it this way, but I like to keep everything very simple. I use the same logo in all 3 locations, right? It just makes it easy, it's effective, and it just doesn't have you bouncing around with different types of files. As you can see here for the app logo, it takes a PNG file, a JPEG file, and it doesn't want it bigger than 4 megabytes, right? So the difference between a PNG and JPEG file, for those people that don't know, a PNG file is my preferred type of file. It's a file that does not have a background color attached to it, right? So if you have your logo, it looks like the logo is just hovering by itself with no background. If it's a JPEG file, it will have your logo, and the background can be whatever color is set to. It could be white, black, purple, whatever you want to set to that. I don't like to work with JPEG files. I like to work with PNG files because I know they're transparent, right? So if you do add a logo that has a white background, you're going to want to change the text and button colors to something else other than white, or else you're not going to be able to see the text or the buttons because they're going to be camouflaged, right? So if you got to change the color, you could click on this square and pick any other color from the color spectrum. I'm just going to do a quick sample here. I'll use blue. I'll use that color there. Right. So that's in the event that you use something other than a PNG file or a white background. So what I'm going to do here is for the app logo, I'm going to click choose file and look what happens. I'm going to click choose file. Automatically, it opens up that same folder that I created on my desktop, right? It makes things so much easier when everything's just right here. So I'm going to pick the TouchPix logo right here, hit open. For the app background, I use the same file, TouchPix logo, click open. And for web gallery, I use the same file. And please note, I'm going to hover over that logo. As you can see, it says it's a PNG file, and look at the dimensions. I recommend anything 2500 by 2500, depending on how your logo is set up, right? Obviously design it within your aspect ratio, and the file size is fairly small, so it doesn't need to be something huge, but it's the same file that I'm using for all 3 locations, right? There is one option here called the attract screen. I'm not going to show you what it does, but I'm going to explain to you what it does. The attract screen just means that it's meant to attract people, right? It's more popular to use on the photo booth side than on the video side, but you can use it on the video side. It just means that, for example, if you're doing a wedding and then the wedding has a pause because maybe they're doing the toast or they're cutting the cake, right? If your photo booth is not being used, if it notice that it's on idle, whatever you load here, um, will pop up as it's almost like a screensaver. But people have used pictures, people have used MP4 files, right? A video. It's just like a screensaver that pops up that's supposed to attract attention. So people can be, oh, what's that moving video file? Or people get really creative on how to use this. So you don't need to use it, but in the event that you want to play around with it, you can load a file. It can be a PNG, JPEG, or MP4. So for all the other logos, I use the same logo. Remember that? Then I'm going to go down here to where it says trigger, motion trigger. Motion trigger, I'm going to explain to you what it is, but I'm not going to use it. Motion trigger just means that. So your iPhone is equipped with a GPS system on your iPhone. What this does is for people that have automatic spinners, if you click the on button of your 360 photo booth, the arm starts spinning. Once the arm starts spinning, the app detects that the iPhone is being moved, and it's going to start the session, right? So it'll start on motion, basically. It'll start recording on motion. So that's a pretty good feature. I don't like to use it, but a lot of people do. You know, it's a preference type of thing. There's no advantage or disadvantage. Feel free to see what works best for you. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck this, right? And then I'm going to go to the last part here with the external session, external screen. I'm going to go ahead and enable this. This is completely optional. You do not need to activate this. This is more of a enhanced feature. This is a quick and easy way to make more money because this will require the use of an Apple TV, or you can hardwire it if you're using a GoPro, hardwire your sharing station if possible. You know, you do need some adapters for that, but I recommend an Apple TV because it's the easiest way to make it work. And what I mean by Apple TV, I don't mean an actual TV. I mean a little box like the Fire Stick or the Chromecast, but it's called an Apple TV box. And I recommend either a 4th or 5th generation, right? The reason I do that is because those are the most recent ones, and those are the ones that have been tested heavily. And I'm sure they're very reliable in that sense. But what this does is it allows you to actually upsell. You bring in a TV or a projector. And if you're using an iPhone, I recommend you leave it on external session. For those of you that are going to go to PVX, which is a Photo Booth Expo on the 20th of next month, you will be able to see some great new features with this on the GoPro. I think it's long awaited. I want to be able to release the news today, but I can't. But it's going to be good things, nothing but good things, specifically with this and the GoPro. So I want to just let you know that if you're using an iPhone, leave it on external session. And what this does is when you hit record or it starts recording, you can do a live view recording, meaning that the people can see themselves on the TV screen or the projector being recorded. Once it's done recording, they can see the video processing. They can see the video playback. Once the video is playing back on the screen, this QR carousel, if you have good Wi-Fi, it'll give you a QR code right underneath the video where now your guest can walk up to the TV screen, scan that QR code, and they have access to just that video. So this is a very cool feature. It's an upsell. You know, if you're taking a projector or a TV out to events, easy way to make $200, $300, $400 extra, depending on how big your presentation is. But it really requires very little effort for this to work, right? Live view recordings for the live view recording. QR carousel brings the QR underneath the video, and the company logo. It'll have the company logo. It'll grab the logo from this file here, the app logo file. It'll display it on the screen, right? Anybody have a question with that? Okay, so for the use of
What's the difference between the slideshow and the external session?
yeah, so right now the slideshow it's mainly meant for GoPro users, which I'm going to toggle off to it now. So the GoPro has It has a, it's not the same as an iPhone, right? iPhone and the Apple TV are Apple to Apple, so it was a much easier connection to make it, to make the live view work. But that's going to change come this coming month. Pretty soon, the GoPro will have similar features where you're going to be able to do the same thing. So be mindful that, you know, this webinar might not be up to speed in a few weeks or by next month for sure. There's going to be more features added. But typically right now, the external session is only, or the slideshow is only for GoPro users, because GoPro didn't have a way to be able to screen mirror onto the TV. So you couldn't do a live view recording. It would only do slideshow presentation, meaning that it'll do a slideshow of all the videos throughout the night. It'll play it on the TV, right? And it's a cool feature, and that's what I'm going to show today. So once you're here, I'm going to click submit. I know it took a while to explain all this, but literally once you get in there and actually do it yourself, it shouldn't take you longer than 15, 20 minutes your first or second time. But after that, you should be able to do an event in less than 5 minutes. You know, I think I'm up like in less than a minute now in creating my events. And it's just repetition like anything else. Practice, understand how it works, and execute, right? So this is the QR code. I'm not going to go here yet, right? I'm going to go over to the designer, right? I'm going to click on the designer. And the designer is where to design your specific overlay. That's what the designer means. So as you can see, this is our designer. If you go over to the left-hand side and click under templates, you can see that it's under slow-mo overlay. But if you were to click on this tab, you can see that there's overlays for a lot of different other features if you choose to use them. I don't recommend to use them at once. If you're going to run a photo booth, then run a separate photo booth. If you're going to run a slow motion booth, just stick to slow motion, right? Just to avoid confusion if you're barely starting. So make sure you're on slow motion. You can see that for slow motion, there is 5 different templates that you can use. One seems to be very popular for the new reels that are on Facebook or Instagram, right? 2 is very popular for regular Instagram posts because it's a square, perfect size for posting. 3 is actually popular because it also has more of a wide angle view, right? So as you can see, it's more of a landscape view. 4 has the ultra wide angle view. And 5 is a more cropped version of the first one, right? The vertical. So feel free to play around with whichever one makes sense for you. What I've seen a lot of users use is 1, 2, and 3 as the most popular ones. I think 1 is becoming a little popular lately. 2 was by far the most popular since TouchPix started, right? So I'm going to roll with 2. That way you guys can see that. So I clicked on 2. Right when I clicked on 2, you see this big silhouette pop up here, right? So from here, you could actually design from here within TouchPix. I'm not a big designer, so I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say, hey, well, I can design something really, really nice. I'm just not a design guy. I usually pay for people to do my stuff, right? There's a lot of people in our Facebook group that are freelancers, very affordable. Just reach out to somebody and say, hey, I'm in look for somebody to design me my overlay. Very competitive rates. You guys can negotiate. But I will recommend this. Do not give anybody money without them showing you some type of work, whether it's watermarked or not. There's a lot of people there that like to scam, unfortunately, and we don't police that. So just be very wary about that, or ask for recommendations, right? Once you're here, I'm going to click on stickers. TouchPix gives you a bunch of clip art, right, that you can use. All of these are PNG files, right? They're transparent, so you can stick them anywhere on the border that you want, right? There's just tons of them, depending on what your situation is, what you want to do. Like you can use this here. I just clicked on this right now. And once I clicked on it, it popped up onto my screen. Now you can stretch it out, right? You can stretch it out. You want to stretch it out. You can turn it if you want to turn it, right? You can do a lot of different things here. If you want to make it more transparent, you can mess with the opacity, right? If you don't want it to be black and you want it to be maybe red, you can switch it to red. You have full controls up here. Wherever you want to drop it, you can drop it right in there. If this is not centered for you, because I could tell it's not centered, you can use this grid, click snap grid, and then you can center it, right? And then deselect the snap grid. And then if you want to add more to it, say you want to add text, you're going to hover over to your left here, and you could click on large text. Large text pops up, right? Drag it down, spread the box. To your left-hand side, you're going to see a numerical value. If I go up on the arrow, you'll see that my text gets larger, right? If I want white text instead of black, I'm going to click on color and click on white text. Hit accept. If I want the font to be something else, I'm going to click on my font list here, and I'll use something more basic. Maybe I'll use I'll use this here, and I'm going to double click in this box, and you'll see everything change. Right? Double click, you'll see the blinking cursor, and now you can change things. Right? TouchPix 360. Again, you can always increase the size. Right? You can always change the font if that's what you want to do. Right? So it gives you a quick and dirty way of how to design this, right? Like I said, I'm not a designer, but if you can get creative with what it offers, you can do a really good job with it. I'm going to delete it. To delete it, you just click on the element till you see a box and then hit delete on your keyboard. Click on the element till you see a box, hit delete on your keyboard. If you pay for a designer, such as what I do, is you're going to hover over to where it says uploads, right? Typically, you have a designer. He'll design some type of element for me, and I'll download it onto my computer, and then I'll put it into that special folder. So now I want to do a custom overlay. If you go to a custom overlay and you hover over the question mark, you're going to see that this lower half right here tells you the sizes of all the templates. So if you're going to get a designer to design something for you, they're going to ask you what size is your template, and this is the size that you give them. This size is in pixels, right? So I'm using template 2. Template 2 is 1072 by 1072. It's a square, right? That's all you need to know, right? But if I click on browse, it opens that folder I set up from the beginning. And I'm going to use this border here that I had somebody design. It's just a basic border. You see it pop up right here. Right when you click on it, it's going to appear on your silhouette. You see, it's a nice little border here. It's on your silhouette. If I want to continue to add more to it, now I want to add it stuff as a sticker, right? I'm going to go to browse. I had this designer also give me this person's name as a separate file. That way I can use that border for other events if I needed to. So I'm going to click on that person's name. Everything's a PNG file because it's transparent. Then I'm going to click open. For the stickers, you're going to have to scroll all the way to the top, and you're going to see it right up here. I'm going to click on it. Once you click on it, it pops up on your screen. Now you can drag it. That's that person's name. Now I can position it where I want, make sure it's centered, right? And deselect the grid. And I could leave it there if I want now, right? And if I wanted to add my logo to this, I can go back to uploads, go to stickers again. And I'm going to use the TouchPix logo. It's a PNG file. Click open. I see it up here now. I'm going to click on it. And now it's right up here, and I can position it wherever I want, right? I'm going to position it wherever I want. And that's where it's at. So if I'm satisfied with the way this looks and I want to move forward, all I do is hit add template. Once I'm not going to hit add template because I'm going to show you an animated overlay, and I want to make sure that I show you how to do it correctly. But if this is the artwork that you want, make sure you hit add template. This will turn green. It'll say template added, and it'll add it to your event, right? So in this case, I'm gonna just delete what I just did. I'm gonna delete the logo. Well, maybe, no, I'll delete the logo too. I'm gonna go to template. Oops, uploads, here we go. I'm gonna delete it from here and it's gone. What I'm telling TouchPix to do right now, I'm gonna hit add template now. I'm telling TouchPix that I want my output to be a square in 1072 by 1072, even though it's blank. I'm letting it know that I want a square output. It's important for you to tell TouchPix what size you want to work with. And we are done right there. Okay, so if you can see, I hit add template, it turns like a mustard color, then it says template added in green, and you're done. So now what I'm going to do is go to my events. This is today's event, the webinar. It says test because we haven't activated. This is the QR code that I'm going to need. This is the overlay. I added a blank overlay, so it makes, you know, if it's grayed out like this, it means that you haven't selected one. It needs to be like this, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on QR code, and I'm going to go over to my phone here, and I'm going to show you guys what's going on with this real quick. Okay. Give me one quick second here. I'm going to log into my phone.
What up, DJ?
Hey, what's up, Charles? Hey, everybody.
What's
This is I got Charles and Tia both helping out today. So this is Charles. He's the other half of the support team. You may have talked to him at some point. I'm gonna let him introduce himself while I'm logging on.
Hey, everybody. Generally, I'm on the 1-800 number. Sometimes, you know, doing training offline, Facebook group, anything you kind of need. I'm here for support as well. So definitely here just to help you get through your events. Make sure if you have any issues, definitely make sure you use the support at touchpix.com. We check that. I check that all the time. So even if you're at an event on a Saturday night, 11 o'clock, I'm probably still checking it. So just make sure you know we are here to support you. We are here to help you. Practice is the key, and DJ is amazing, and so is Tia.
Thanks, Charles. Yeah, so Charles is out of the East Coast. He's out of Atlanta, I believe. I'm out of California, so definitely, I think we have a lot of places covered. We have another support person down in Florida, so it just depends who you get, what time you get them, but we're here to help you guys. So on the right-hand side, you guys are seeing my iPhone now, right? I just downloaded TouchPix, and the way I downloaded TouchPix, for people that don't know, is go to your app store right in here, download TouchPix, right? Go to search, and I'm going to type in TouchPix. This is where you download it. I already have it, so naturally it says open, right? If you need to see the tutorial on how to set up your first event, you can click on this YouTube video. If you need to buy a subscription, this is where you buy the subscription. You buy it from your, unless you buy the white label, everything else is purchased on the app, right? So you purchase it where it says subscriptions. You hit subscriptions and it'll tell you which one you want to buy. Again, very important that when you buy a subscription, you turn it off, right? It's up to you to turn it off. So if I'm buying the weekly, I'm going to know that I'm going to have to, cancel that auto pay or reoccurring payment at least 2 days before it expires, right? It doesn't mean that we're shorting you 2 days. It just means that you're canceling before it hits the system where it's going to do a reoccurring payment. It's still 7 days. So if you buy TouchPix, for example, right now, 9:40, right? If you buy TouchPix at 9:40 p.m. on a Wednesday, you'll have it till next Wednesday, 9:40 p.m. Okay. So before I go there, I'm also going to show you how to cancel it in the event that you need to cancel it. I'm going to just toggle off of there. I'm going to go to my Apple App Store right here. From your Apple App Store, I'm going to hit cancel there. You're going to see a little circle silhouette up here, right? In this case, is the picture of my business or my business logo, right? I'm going to click on that circle. Once I click on that circle, it's going to give me the name of my device, and it's going to give me the Apple ID associated to my Apple account. This is what it is, right? This is a separate Apple ID that I use for this, right? And if you look at 2 options down, you're going to see where it says subscriptions. You're going to click on subscriptions, right? You're going to see everything that you're subscribed to, right? I got my kid Santa Claus here that I use for Christmas, but this is all that I'm subscribed to. You're going to see my TouchPix account says that it's expired, but this is where you're going to cancel it. This is how you cancel it. You're going to click on it and hit cancel subscription, and then you won't get paid again. I mean, you won't get charged again. I'm sorry. Super easy to do, but it's your responsibility to do that. Okay. So again, I'm going to go back over to TouchPix. That way you guys can see. This is TouchPix again. And now I'm going to activate this event that we just created. So I'm going to click activate event. I want to activate an actual event. So I'm going to hit activate. It's giving you test to test it. Test to test it means you don't probably have an active subscription. You're okay with the watermarks. It's just for testing purposes. Sharing station. Typically you would hit sharing station just for sharing station. But in this case, I'm gonna bypass this. I'm gonna bypass this for the GoPro because it's a little different, right? And I'm gonna do activate. What I mean by bypassing this is, as you can see right now, I'm gonna go over to my account events. Just backing up a little. This is the event that we just created. Typically, if you're using an iPhone and you're using just a basic sharing station, you're fine with just one event like this, right? But because I'm gonna use my GoPro, and I'm also wanting to use SCANPIX later, right? And possibly my Apple TV. My sharing station is not really gonna be like a fake sharing station. It's gonna be like an actual event. So what I'm gonna do here is this, where it says manage, I'm gonna click on it. The first option is to edit this event. In the event that I forgot to set a certain setting, you can go back in there and edit. But I'm going to go to the second option, which is called duplicate event. So basically, it's going to duplicate all the settings that I just went through right now, right? The same exact event. It's going to duplicate it, but I'm just going to name this sharing station for this event, right? So I'm making a separate QR code for that sharing station. That's the QR code for that sharing station. I'm actually gonna, how am I gonna do this? Let's go with, give me one quick second here. Did that make sense for a lot of people? That might have confused some people because I've never done that before live. Do you know why I created a separate event? And just want to make sure you guys understand that concept. For the people who are using GoPro specifically. For people who are using iPhones, you don't have to worry about that step. You can just activate your sharing station normally. But for people that are using GoPros, I recommend you duplicate your event. Specifically, if you're going to be using SCANPIX and things like that, it just makes it a lot cleaner to use. Did that make sense for people? I'm hoping it did. Give me one quick second here. Sorry, I'm prepping my other iPad because I'm going to show the sharing station portion of it right now. And it's connected to a different Wi-Fi. I could take a couple questions while I'm setting this up if you guys want to unmute yourselves, if you have any questions. Any questions? Okay, so just bear with me real quick while I download the app on my other iPad.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, I have a question. I went to the sharing station and mine just keeps going back and forth, but I can't find that code. How do I get to that code again? I was still stuck in, I guess, templates or setting up the slow-mo, picking out a backdrop, the man or whatever. The code was at the bottom, and now it's, I guess, because I had added templates, like you said, and nothing else came back.
So when you say code, what are you referring to? The QR code?
Yes.
Yeah, so to get your QR code, you need to go over to my account, like I just did on my screen. Go over to events.
Over to events. Create events?
No, when you go over to, no, up here, my account events. Okay, and then whatever event you just created, your QR code is going to be right here.
Okay, let me see. 30 events. Okay. Now where's QR code overlays? Yeah. Oh, okay, I got it. So now I click on QR codes.
You can click on QR code, which is what I'm gonna do right now.
All right, it came up.
Okay, cool. So now we're here. So now I'm gonna show you how to do it. So again, I'm reverting back to, give me a sec real quick. Reverting back to this page here. Everybody can see my iPhone on the right-hand side, right? This is the iPhone here on the right-hand side. I'm gonna click activate event and I'm gonna activate an event, right? So it's gonna ask you for permissions for your camera, right? And I'm gonna hit okay, because you wanna give it permissions for everything, right? And now you're gonna scan that QR code. I'm just gonna use my camera to scan it. It detected the event. It's setting up the event. Now it's gonna ask you for permissions to your network. You're gonna give it permissions for everything. It's very important. Bluetooth and access to save all the files on your camera roll temporarily. And this is a function for the external session. So make sure this is only gonna ask you this once, right? It needs the resources, so hit okay. And I'm gonna let it do its thing right now. So what I'm gonna do now, once it's, we're almost at the GoPro section. I'm letting it load. It's taking a little bit for that section to load with the,
While we're waiting on that, I have a question.
Sure.
Oh,
So for the motion trigger, does that work for the GoPro as well, or does it only work for the iPhone?
Yeah, you don't really need it on the GoPro because you're gonna
Okay.
have a separate device controlling your GoPro that's typically being handheld. So for the GoPro, if you're using a GoPro, you still need an iPad or an iPhone to
Mhm.
control your GoPro. But additionally to that, you still need a different iPad as a sharing station, right? So typically, if you're gonna control your GoPro, you don't need it because you're gonna have that device in your hand that controls the GoPro anyways. So you're just gonna click on the screen wirelessly, so it doesn't really make a difference. Okay,
Got it.
so now I'm gonna make this screen bigger so you guys can focus on my iPhone in the settings, right? So as you can see, I use this color here. You don't have to use this color, but I'm just kind of showing you an example that it doesn't have to be white all the time. This is your menu button right here. So what we're gonna do is go into your menu from your device, and we're gonna go into where it says settings, right? And first and foremost, I want you guys to pay attention when you hit settings. You want to make sure you use the ultra high quality. That's the highest quality possible. You want to set the phone or the device to record at the ultra high quality, less compression, right? Then you're going to click on this right arrow that says session. You're going to notice that all the settings transferred over from the web over to your phone. So you were not using a printer, you're going to click the right arrow. So now we're in the camera section, right? For now, I want people to do it this way. In the event that you're using an iPhone, everything's the same. If you're using an iPhone, you're going to want to go to the camera section and go all the way to the bottom, right where it says slow-mo speed. You're going to click on slow-mo speed, and you're going to set it to 1920 by 1080 at 120 frames per second. Okay, then you're going to click done, right? Then what you're going to do is you're going to go to this section here where it says lens. You click on it, and if your device is capable, and I know there was one iPad user on the call, this is where you want to make sure that your iPad is capable of having the ultra wide lens. It'll tell you ultra wide. If ultra wide doesn't pop up, that means your device doesn't have ultra wide lens. Then you click done, right? So now you get a little warning to make sure that you understood that you made those changes, but you're going to see those changes appear here, ultra wide, 1080, and you're good to go. Now, if you're using a GoPro, now I would recommend you switch it over to GoPro. I ask you to do it this way now because in the event, like I explained earlier, if your battery dies from your GoPro, you have a bad cable, you're going to be full of anxiety trying to figure out what, how to get through this, that you're not going to remember these settings right here if you're going to pivot to an iPhone to finish your event. This way, the settings are already set, and you can just pivot to an iPhone by selecting the back camera, and you can finish your event with no hiccups, right? But before I go to the GoPro, I'm gonna actually go and set up some effects, that way you guys can see that, and then I'll come back and set up the GoPro. So I'm gonna click on the right arrow right here. This is the other area where people are gonna live a majority of the time, this area here. TouchPix will let you use three effects. One of them is already the audio that we uploaded online. So in the event that you do not have any audio files and you do not want to struggle with the audio, this is what I would recommend. I'm going to click on this audio tab and just hit delete. That takes the audio file that I uploaded online. TouchPix gives you free audio file that you can use, right? What you're going to want to do is hit add effect right here. And then this list pops up. And from the list, you're going to want to go all the way down to where it says music. Let's go over to music. There it is. And we're going to click done right here. And then what I'm going to do is click on the music tab inside the gray box. And it's telling me that in order for me to use this effect, it needs to download these files. So I say, okay. It's going to download these files, and TouchPix, I believe, gives you 14 different files, right? So it will give you free files for music that you can use if you don't want to struggle finding some music. And all of these are basically feel-good instrumental music that go good with 360 videos, right? The reason we don't recommend showing you how to do it any other way is because a lot of people like to use mainstream music. And although people do use it, right, we just legally can't show you how to do it for copyright reasons. And we don't want to get sued, and we don't want you to get sued for using mainstream music that belongs to a record label. So we offer some alternatives to that. But you do whatever's best for your business, and whatever you elect, I'm sure you'll be fine. I'm
I
gonna
have a
pick.
question.
Go ahead.
To do the music, does that mean you have to press something on the like on the computer prior to this, or can you just leave it as it is and just do this from the iPhone?
You can do it from the iPhone. You don't have to do anything from the computer. The computer gives you an option to load it from a computer, but you can do it from the iPhone.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so the caveat to that though too, because I've had calls where people try to use music from Apple Music, it's not going to accept it. Just make sure it's an MP3 file, and Apple Music is not MP3. A lot of providers don't offer MP3 files no more for copyright protection, but just make sure whatever you're using that's on your phone is an MP3 file. So I just loaded this track 1, right? So what I'm going to show you now is adding a separate effect. The separate effect, I'm going to hit add effect. And these are some of the TouchPix effects that you can use. There is a video on the TouchPix YouTube page. The video on the TouchPix YouTube page goes over every single effect and how it looks. So you guys might want to visit that YouTube page, and the videos categorize video effects, and it'll show you exactly how every single one of these looks. So I'm going to use what's been working. I'm going to use a collage effect, and I'm going to hit done. So now the collage effect is in there. Now I'm going to click on the collage effect inside the gray box. Once I click on it, you're going to notice that this timeline opened up. This timeline represents your entire video. So now it's asking you that collage effect, because I clicked on it, where do you want the effect to be applied? Do you want it applied on the entire video? In my case, I don't. I want it applied towards the end. So I'm going to move the first circle all the way down here to 0.75, and I want it only to be applied of 0.75 to 0.9. I just want that collage effect to be applied in that section, right? So now what I'm going to do is add a different effect. I'm going to add an effect, and I'm going to show you a animated overlay. So TouchPix uses an animated overlay called animated overlay alpha. You do need a special designer for this, or somebody to design it for you, but I like to show this because it opens up the possibilities where people seem to think that TouchPix only does artwork that doesn't move. TouchPix actually does artwork with movement, with animation, and that enhances the quality of your event. It makes you look a little bit more professional if done right, but there's nothing wrong with using non-movement overlays. I'm just trying to highlight on some of the key points that I don't see a lot of people using. And it could be because they haven't found the right designer for this, right? So I'm going to go over to where it says overlay alpha. I'm going to click done. In this case, that file, I have it saved onto my phone. So I'm going to click on overlay alpha. And now it's telling me to choose a file. Do I want it? It needs to be either an MOV file or an MP4 file. I'm going to click choose file. And I believe, let's see where I have it saved. I believe I have it on my phone. This is the animated overlay that I have on my phone right here. I'm just going to select it. And it loaded the file up real quick. And lastly, before I go over to my GoPro and make that connection, I'm going to go over here. So if you notice people posting videos on Facebook where they have their slow motion video, and then at the end has like a branding video that's attached to it, it's called a post roll. This is where they put the post roll branding. So for people that are interested in this, just make sure, for example, I'm using template 2 today. Whoever designed your post roll video, your promotion video at the end, it needs to be the same size as your template. So if I'm using a template that's square 1072 by 1072, whoever designs this video needs to be the exact same size as the template. So I'm going to click post roll video, and it's asking me if I have that video in my files or in my gallery. For me, it's going to be in my files, and I'm actually going to get out of this screen here. I have it in my Dropbox folder. You can point it to Dropbox, to your phone, or to your Google Drive. I just happen to have most of my files in Dropbox, but you don't need to have Dropbox. It's just my preference for me.
So I have a question. So all of this toward the end, is that still just setting up for the 360 booth event? I'm new to this, so.
Yeah, so all of these are like the fine-tuned settings, right? We already did the majority of the work online. These are just the fine-tuned settings if you want individualized branding. You don't have to do this. You don't even have to use an animated overlay. I'm just showing you a little bit more above and beyond of what you need to do to enhance that experience.
Oh,
If you followed along and you already have an artwork file and your own music, then you don't need to go this far. But I'm just kind of showing you a little bit of the extra, because I think at the end, it just makes a big difference on the output. Okay.
Thank you.
So in this case, I'm selecting my outro video and I have it saved on my phone, and I'm going to click on that file and it loaded the file. So I'm ready to go. So I'm going to click go back.
I have
Okay.
a question. How
Sure.
long is your ending video?
It's I wouldn't recommend making it longer than 10 seconds. I think mine might be close to 10 seconds, but it's usually between 6 to 10 seconds.
And is that just your logo, or is that somebody else, like an example of what it looks like to use the 360?
It's my logo, but I had it custom made for another event that I made that they wanted for a Valentine's Day event last year.
Oh, so this is where you could utilize like what their theme is?
Yeah, perfect. You can do it that way. I chose to do it that way. You don't need to. You can just create a generic one that you can use for every video, but I just added a little bit more of a personalization to it to fit their theme. That's all.
Do you know if you could put like the picture of the person's event?
Yeah,
like it's a birthday person, like a birthday person?
You can do any of that, but you either know how you either need to know how to design it, or you need to find the right designer to do it for you. But yes, that's definitely doable.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over cameras, right? Because the way it connects to the GoPro, it connects to the GoPro via Wi-Fi. So this phone needs to get offline. Actually, I'll just get it offline now. Give me one quick second. I'm going to switch cameras in a bit. So I'm going to just toggle that app off real quick.
This recording that you're doing of the Zoom, will we be able to have access to that to like rewatch the video?
Yes, you will. Definitely.
Okay, thanks.
Wait, Duke? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, may I know, like, okay, so personally, right, which GoPro, iPhone, and iPad do you personally use? Just want to know.
What do I use? I use right now I have a GoPro 10 black. Right? We
like
recommend
iPhone.
We recommend I don't think I said that in this video. We recommend any GoPro 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 black, 10 being the latest one. That's the one I'm using. It's a lot faster transfer file. And iPhone, I'm using the 12 Pro, not the Pro Max, Pro. Yeah.
And then for the iPad?
For the iPad, I have a variety of them. I have 11 Pro, 12.9 Pro. I actually have a regular older 10.5 Pro that works fine as well.
So like normally, right? Like how much space like do you have on your like on your devices? Like let's say for your iPhone, like how much space you have on it and the iPad?
That doesn't matter. You're not actually saving all your events there. You're temporarily only saving the current event. Once you close your event, you verify that all your files uploaded onto your online gallery, and then it's going to ask you to delete the files off the device.
Oh, okay. All right. So like this, I mean, like the space, like, I mean, does not really matter, right? Like how much space you need to have your iPad for sharing, and for the iPhone doesn't really matter because it does not really store on the device, right? Basically.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to toggle over. So now I switched over to a camera. I want to see if you guys are able to. Are you guys able to see the camera that I have going on?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Okay, so this is unfortunately the best way I can show you, because the way this iPhone connects to this GoPro right here, and mind you, I just have it on the monopod right now, which is what I want to show you. Give me 1 second here before I mess up any of my other stuff. So I have it on a monopod, right? You guys can get very creative with these things. Let's see here. Hold up, I gotta put it down real quick. You guys can get very creative with these mounts. I'm gonna actually.
I just have a question kind of for everybody. What do you recommend for people when they're actually using it? A lot of times people use a 360, but they don't actually know how to pose or what kind of props to use. So if you guys have any suggestions, that'd be great.
Yeah, and feel free to use the chat box for that too. Okay, so this is the, I'm just showing you this obviously for a demo purpose. This is the GoPro 10 Black. A lot of people would seem to think that they need a big ring light on their arm. And I think that's a false, I think it's a false narrative, right? You don't really need a ring light, right? What I would recommend people use on their arm is something that's bright, right? And the smallest light possible that can light up the subject. The light on the arm, if you have nice lighting around your 360 platform, you shouldn't even need a light, right? But in the event that you feel like you need just an extra pop, I'd recommend a couple of things. A very small ring light, or I recommend this little light here. This little light is bright, right? It's battery operated. It actually has a cold mount where the GoPro can mount on top of, right, as it spins. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the slide just so you guys can see a little sample of what it looks like, but it's way too bright. That's the lowest setting. So that's a bright setting, but that is definitely enough of what you need. I'm gonna turn it off, but I just wanted to highlight that, right? So now we're gonna go over to the GoPro. I wanna show you some GoPro settings to make sure that we're on the same page here. First of all, here on your GoPro, there is a button on your left-hand side, I believe, right? That is your menu button. It's right here on your left-hand side. I actually have it in a special case for people that are using GoPros. I notice a lot of people, and it's pretty obvious why, because I don't think there's a lot of people really telling you guys how to do it otherwise. A lot of people use it with the stock batteries inside the GoPro. I recommend against that. Do not use the GoPro batteries that it comes with, right? The reason I recommend against that is every single GoPro since GoPro probably 4, they're very notorious for overheating when you have them on for long periods of time. Your GoPro will overheat and it will shut off or it will act erratically. So what we do is we take off the battery. There's no battery in there. I got a special little case for mine where only the USB-C port is available. I use a USB-C cable. Technically, I use a black one, but for these purposes, I try to find a long one. And I'll use a small battery bank. And I use a small battery bank smaller than even this one I have in my hand. This typically is Velcroed on my arm, at the very bottom of my arm, right? And I have a smaller unit for this that powers my GoPro. That's how you're supposed to use your GoPros on your 360. That's how all the pros use it. That's more of a pro tip. Take off that battery and use an external battery pack, okay? Second thing, what you wanna do is on the side button here, when you toggle it, you should have a video function. You wanna make sure it's on the video function of your GoPro, right? You'll see a little camera like you see right on the top there. And then I'm gonna tap on the screen one more time. You're gonna wanna set your settings to standard, right? I'm gonna see if I can zoom in. My settings are set to wide, 1080p to 120 frames per second. That's where they need to be, okay? And what also you need to do is, I think on this GoPro, I swipe down and I think I swipe to the left to go into preferences, but let's go over to, yeah, I guess let's go into preferences. Under preferences, what I want you guys to go through when you first buy your GoPro is, let's go to, oops, sorry, it's hard to do this with one hand. I'm gonna go over to general, leave that on. Okay, that's not there. What I'm looking for is, I believe it's gonna be under connections. So I'm gonna go back. Connections. I wanna go where it says Wi-Fi band. Wi-Fi band, I like to set my Wi-Fi band at 2.4. If you guys can see that, if I click on the Wi-Fi band, it gives you two options. It gives you 5 gigahertz. Hopefully you guys can see that. And then 2.4. So let me explain why I do that. 5 gigahertz is actually a faster speed. However, 5 gigahertz, even though it's a faster speed, that transmission distance is lower. It's not meant for long distance, right? 2.4 gigahertz is meant for long distance. So you will not have connection issues if you put it at 2.4. You can try it at 5. It will work at 5, but just know if you're having connection issues, you might need to toggle it over to 2.4. So that would be my recommendation, okay? Once you do that, right, let's go back from the beginning. I swipe down and then to the right. Now I want to do is hit connections. And then from connections, I want to hit connect device, which is the second option. And I want to just say GoPro quick app, but I'm not going to use the quick app. All I did is just say I am opening up the connection. Now I'm going to go over to my phone right here. I'm going to go over to the settings tab, toggle over to camera, right? Remember I had it at back camera. Now I want to put it over at GoPro. And then I'm going to click on connect to GoPro. And I should see my GoPro. That's my GoPro right there, the 1290. You probably heard my GoPro beep. I'm waiting for the connection to happen. Because I had my GoPro off, it's asking me to put in the date and time. Give me one quick second here. Okay, so it's asking me to join. I'm going to hit join. So now it's on GoPro. These are my settings, and now I can go back. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a record, right? So I'm going to grab my phone here with me, right? I'm going to let you guys see this real quick. Sorry, as I'm operating with one hand here. Okay, so here's my phone, right? I'm gonna click on record and you're gonna hear the beep on my GoPro. You hear it? I'm not moving it right now, but now it's recording. I'm gonna move it just right now manually. That way you guys can see something. Okay. So it did give me an error for this. It always gives me this error at the very beginning when I have it plugged into a battery bank. It's a cold battery alert. I'm only gonna receive it once, so I might have to do that video again. That alert only pops up the very first time you connect it to your battery, to your external battery bank. But let's see if it goes through. It's processing the file right now. It's downloading last media. It looks like I might have to do it one more time. Oh, it looks like it's going. Okay. So it's adding the slow-mo speed. It's going to add the animated overlay, and then it's going to add the audio file. And then we should be done with that. So it's adding the outro video, audio, and it should give me the video playback. So there's the video. You see that? You see the animated overlay with the effects. So that's an enhancement for sure. I'll play it on the big screen right now. That way you guys can see it. So that's the collage effect, right? And there's my outro video popping in. Right? You guys have any questions with that? You guys want to see me do one more session? And then I'm going to show you how to sync it to the sharing station.
All right. Oh, I was gonna say I have a question. I was downloading, I guess, the TouchPix. What's the name? And it said it was taking a minute, so it finished. But my phone is stuck on It looked like it's saying online sync and delete images. Now, do I click on online sync? Because it has the sharing. It has the sharing symbol in the middle between both of them. So I click on online sync.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you're at exactly. Like, did you follow my video as I went along? Because it sounds like you got lost at some point. Because I haven't even.
I got lost at
I
one
haven't,
point.
because I haven't gone into that section yet where you would see the online sync. That's my next step.
Yeah,
Right?
what I was doing was I was trying to when I clicked on TouchPix, then I clicked on when you said go to Apple, I seen mine said open. Even though I had it on my phone already, I clicked it, and then it told me it had to load 260 gigabytes something on my so
yeah,
I let that run through.
So what happened with you, it sounded like you already had an event loaded. You
Oh,
already
I just know I had black and whatever you said, make one when we made one before.
Exactly. You had an event loaded already. So I think that's where that's kind of where you got lost.
Okay.
I would start from the beginning with a blank event. You make sure you're following all the steps. What you did is also, yeah, you have to delete the app and probably reinstall and follow the steps just to create a new event or rescan the QR code and then go through
I never got the what's the name of the QR code?
Yeah, you must have loaded something because you're in the gallery section.
Right. So I mean, I did that earlier. Yes, and it showed me. It was telling me move the video, and I was wiggling the phone, and it was showing me. But now my phone is stuck in gallery. So
yeah, so your phone is right here, right? Your phone is right here where it says online sync. There's an X right above that.
Now, yes, the X on one side and it's the sync on the other side.
So you can just hit the X and it'll take you back to the home screen.
To gallery, right? Now I'm on gallery.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. Yeah, you're probably gonna need to watch it again. It sounds like you got lost at some point.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna go ahead and do one more sample, and then I'm gonna show you. Actually, I'm gonna show you how to sync it to your sharing station, and then I'm gonna do one more sample. That way, you guys can see the video syncing in, right? Give me one quick second here. Let me see. Okay, so this is my iPad right here that has the same event, the duplicated event that I scanned into ahead of time, right? So when you're going to create a sharing station, know this, that my iPhone, the Wi-Fi for my iPhone is attached to my GoPro, right? So if you're using an iPad with Wi-Fi to control your GoPro, that's fine. But just know that this device, you can't control your GoPro and surf the internet at the same time unless you have a cellular data package. You do not need it, but it's important for you to recognize that this device is only used to control your GoPro. That's it. You're going to need a separate iPad for a sharing station if you're using a GoPro, right? So on my sharing station, what you're going to want to do at the very beginning, what I recommend everybody do is go over to general from that iPad. When you're in general, you're going to want to go over to general, airdrop. Make sure airdrop is set to everyone, right? And then you're going to want to come on down here where it says display and brightness. And then to the right, there's going to be an option that says auto lock. And then, I'm sorry, I picked the wrong one, auto lock. And then you're going to hit auto lock and you're going to select never. This prevents your iPad from falling asleep because you can get connection issues if your iPad goes to screensaver mode. So you go back into TouchPix, and this is how you connect your sharing station. So from your sharing station, you're going to click on gallery. This is my iPad, my sharing station. Click on gallery. You're going to see a little circle with a letter on top. You're going to select that circle, and your sharing station is always going to be your receiver. So you're going to click activate receiver. It's going to turn into a white R. Now from my device that controls my GoPro, I'm going to do the same thing. Click gallery, click on the S. And on this one, this is the sending device. So I'm going to click activate sender. And it's my iPad's going to pop up right there, the name of my iPad. I'm going to select it. And it says success. It's been connected. So now I'm going to exit out, and that the white R turned into a green R, meaning there's a connection. You're going to see my video pop up here wirelessly shortly, right? Because it's going to be syncing every file from my iPhone, that's the capturing device, and it's going to send my video over to the iPad now. So now, in essence, the way it should work, there it goes. It just popped in. When you do a session from your iPhone, people are going to do a session as soon as they get off their platform. They're going to walk over to the iPad sharing station, and they're going to be able to find their thumbnail, select it. There it is. And they can share it any of these ways right here, right? You can send it via email by typing in your email. You can send it via text message by punching in your phone number, right? You can send it via QR code. For those of you that are at home right now with phones, you can actually scan this QR code and you can download this file right now. So I'm going to leave it up here for a couple of seconds. That way you guys can see it.
DJ, question: are you going to have time to go over SCANPIX with the GoPro? I know that's a question that comes up a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll have time today. I'm going to go as far as I can, depending on how many people stay on. But I can try. Well, I think I'm running a little behind right now.
Got it.
So people that are at home, you can scan in this, and then you can definitely see the video. I'm gonna leave it up for 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Right. And you can share it via airdrop. Airdrop is easy, right? I'm gonna hit airdrop, and I'm gonna pick one of my phones. I don't know which one I'm gonna send it to. I think I will send it to this one here. And actually received it right now on the phone that I'm recording on. So that's how fast the file transferred, right? That's how fast my file transferred real quick. So you can see airdrop works great. Sorry about that parody video that popped up. All right. So, oh, sorry. I want the camera app. There we go.
Yeah, that's happened to me before where I leave it and it asks me to rescan it. How do I avoid that? Because sometimes
Yeah,
I leave my computer at home and I don't bring it with me to an event.
yeah. So I don't know exactly what your situation is, but on my situation, I'm using an iPhone that to record. This is none of the iPhones that I've had with the scanned event. So I have a lot of different devices, but this is just my recording device. I haven't loaded anything on this one. In your event, I don't know without really knowing the details or the
The
back end.
iPhone where I just use my iPhone to record it on there, and I have the iPhone 13 Max.
Mhm.
And I have the app on there too. But at the same time, it's just my regular phone as well. Like I don't have a different device for the 360. But yeah, so sometimes when I start it on my phone and I scan it, it's fine, but then I leave it for a little bit and then it asks me to rescan it, even though like I just opened it probably within like 2 minutes.
Well, if it's asking you to rescan, make sure that you have the QR app protection. There's a setting on the web that says QR app protection. Make sure that's not selected. Because if it's asking you to scan again, that means you probably accidentally left that on. That's the only reason it would ask you to do a rescan. Because
Do you
that's
know where it is? If it's like one of the sharing or
I
like,
can I can show you a little bit.
okay,
Just give me a
sorry, thank you.
few minutes. That's okay. So
Hey,
I'm gonna
DJ.
do. Yeah, what's going on?
Quick question. The HiPod sharing station that has to be connected to the internet, right, for you to be able to do the text and email.
Text and email, yes. To send out, yes, it does.
Okay.
It does definitely.
And then quick question. One other question again before you.
Just to clarify that, say you don't have any internet connection, right? Look. I'm gonna show you an example real quick. Let's do this real quick. I'm gonna show you a quick example. I'm gonna go over to my internet settings and I'm gonna turn them off. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna turn them off. So I don't have no internet, and this is not a cellular iPad unit. You're right. I'm gonna go back into TouchPix. And what I'm gonna do, let me see. Oh, never mind. This is what I'm gonna do, because I still need the Wi-Fi on, but give me a sec here. I'm gonna actually disconnect from this network. I don't want it to be on this network here. Let's forget this network. Okay, so hopefully, let's do, okay. So right now it's on my SCANPIX router. It doesn't need to be on any router, but it's picking up the next available Wi-Fi. But just to show you guys, this router is my SCANPIX router. It doesn't have any internet connection, but it doesn't matter. Wi-Fi still needs to be on though, okay, for it to be a sharing station. So in the event, let me go back in here. I don't want to confuse you guys too much. Let's go here, activate receiver. Okay, it's back to the receiver. Okay, so this iPad right now doesn't have internet connection. So if I go to the Safari web browser, and if I search for any website like ESPN.com, right? I'm gonna go to ESPN.com, click enter. I'm just gonna prove that it doesn't have any internet, that's all. So it's still looking for it, I guess. So it says no internet. That's just what I wanted to show, no internet. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to SCANPIX. This is what I'm gonna do, right? I'm gonna record one video again with the camera. So I'm gonna click record. You hear my GoPro recording, 2, 1. So now I'm just gonna move my GoPro camera around a couple times. Just moving it around, okay. So I might let it do its thing, but just to give you an example, this video that's already on here, I'm gonna select it and I'm gonna send it, I'm gonna send it to a random number one of my other numbers. Whoa, what's that number? I forgot that number. Okay, so I'm gonna send it here, right? I'm sending myself a text, but there is no internet, okay? I'm actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send it again. I'm gonna keep on sending it, just so you, I'm just trying to prove a point here. 0006. And I'm gonna do it one more time. So I'm gonna send myself 3 texts. And this is basically, if you're at an event and you don't have any internet, but you still have your clients coming over to the sharing station, punching in numbers, right, of how to send the video. It's gonna say sent, right? But what it means is basically it's under the queue. So I'm gonna hit done. I'm gonna wait for the second video to pop in. The second video was done right now processing, so it should be arriving soon. Yeah, I'm gonna hit next there. It should probably only take about 15 seconds for the next video to pop up. So let's give it about 15 seconds. And it should send. Let's see. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, let's try one more time. I'm just gonna keep on sending it to this number. Hit done. Okay, so I want you guys to check this out. So right now there's one video in there, and waiting for the second one to come through anytime now. Okay, let me see if I can. Okay, so now what I want you guys to be mindful of is I'm gonna see if I can get out of the sharing station mode, right? I'm gonna get out of the sharing station mode right now. I'm gonna click on R. So say this is at the end of your event, you had a lot of clients send themselves the video. I'm gonna go hit disable sharing station. I'm gonna exit out. And what I wanna do now is up here on the top left-hand side, I'm gonna click on settings. If you look at this spinning queue, right? It says that it's online because Wi-Fi is on. It's just connected to a router that has no internet, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna click queue. You see these are red. You see that I sent myself 4 messages that are pending, right? So even if you're in a location where there's poor service, if people continue to punch in their phone number, right? Once you get to a location where you do have internet service, this is what's going to happen. So now I'm going to go back into my settings. Say I connect to a network. I'm going to try to connect to a network right now with internet connection. I'm going to see if I can connect to this network here. It just connected. Now I do have internet. And now I'm going to go back into TouchPix, right? I'm going to give it a second and see if it starts picking up. Right now it still says 4 pending, right? I'm going to click on, there's a button up here that says send out queue, right? So I'm going to click on that. And you see how they're turning green? And you see my text messages are now arriving?
Yep.
Now, these are it right here. So that's, oops. These are all my text messages that just arrived. I sent myself 4 and I just got them. Does that make sense? And I know a lot of people stress out on that, but I don't think a lot of people understand the, the value of the queue system, because the queue system just stores it for you, stores it for you. And then you leave your venue and then you maybe drive 2 blocks down where you do have better cell phone range and you just hit send out queue and boom, it sends everything out. So does that make sense for people?
It does make sense. Yeah, it does make sense.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, my
Does the
other
queue-
question. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
So my other question I wanted to ask before I forgot was, can you please send us a link to the iPod stations stand?
I can what I can do is I'll put my email address and then just send me an email and then I'll definitely reply with the link. It's just
Okay.
hard for me. It's hard for me to track it down right now,
Okay.
but definitely I can do that.
Yeah.
So
I
let
have a
me,
question,
go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Does the queue only work for the sharing station or does it work for the Apple TV and the iPhone?
No, the queue works for the iPhone if you're just using an iPhone.
Uh-huh.
The Apple TV works completely different. So the Apple TV is a different setup. So the queue is just designed if you don't have internet at the moment, right? It's going to store, it's going to save all these people's numbers till you do have internet, then it's going to dump them all out once you hit send out queue.
And where did you go to get the queue? You went into settings and then where?
So to get the queue, right, you go
Mhm.
over to gallery, I'm sorry, settings,
Okay, yeah, settings.
and then you'll see queue right in there.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, thank you.
Right. Yeah, super simple. So now I think somebody wanted to see the what did you guys want to see? The damn SCANPIX. There we go. Sorry. Sorry, here we go. I swear I had COVID about 3 weeks ago and
Oh, sure.
I swear one of my side effects is my memory because I've been forgetting a lot of things. So I'm like, wait, what was I going to say right now? Anyhow, look, I'm going to connect. I have my router here. So this is for SCANPIX. I'm going to go over it real quick. I'm probably going to skip the Apple TV because I think this is probably of greater importance. For SCANPIX, we recommend a router called TP-Link, right? You'll see the model number. TP-Link is the brand. The model number is AX3000. Walmart probably has it on sale for, I've seen it for as cheap as $79, as high as 130, right? So you guys can see the setup process on the TouchPix YouTube page for this, but I'm going to show you how it works, okay? So what I'm going to do is, this is already set up. I renamed my router. As you guys can see, it's only plugged into power, nothing else, right? It's only power. So when you show up to your event, you plug it into power, right? I'm going to go over to the iPad that I'm going to use SCANPIX on. This is the name of my router, right? My business. And as you can see, once it's connected, let me see, is it connected? It says no internet connection because it's only connected to the router without any internet connection, okay? So the next step is, I'm gonna exit, I'm gonna disable the sharing station for now. Then the next step for this is go over to settings, and then you're gonna toggle the right arrow so you see a option that's called web server, right? So this is a list, right? At the very beginning, you see where it says web server not running. Leave that off because I need to fill in the rest of the information, right? So the rest of the information is going to be like this. I'm just going to briefly go through it. Contact name, you can put your business name, right? I'm just gonna quickly go through this. Under contact name, put your business name. Doesn't have to be business name, your business name. Under phone number, put your business phone number. I'm just gonna, right? Under web link, put your website, because people will have the ability to save your contact information onto their phone. Organization, you can leave blank. The important part is the Wi-Fi name. In my case, this is called, I'm typing everything in and I'll show you real quick. I'll show you exactly what it's called. So under Wi-Fi name, it's called my website, right? And that's exactly how I spelled it with some of the capitals. Make sure everything is case sensitive. So however you have it set up on your router, make sure it matches over here. My password I left it all lowercase because I don't really care. It doesn't have any information. This is enter 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my password. Okay. And then I'm going to hit generate QR code, right? And then once I'm done with this, I filled out that whole information. Now I'm going to go all the way to the top. And now I'm going to turn on the web server, right? Now the web server is on. I see 2 QR codes. So now what I want to do, once this is set up, I'm going to go back. Now I'm going to set it up as a normal sharing station, right? I'm going to go to gallery, activate receiver, right? Go to my phone, activate sender. I see that it's there. It's going to say success. Perfect. So I want you guys to check this out shortly. Okay. So that file is the only file right now that's made it through. So right now the screensaver pops up. You see that? You see where it says, I can change this artwork if I want, but right now I'm just showing you the default mode. It says step 1, right? Let me grab my other phone. That way you guys can see the full experience, right? So this is my other phone here. Let me make sure I'm covering all my text messages. Give me a sec. Okay, so for my other phone, I'm going to go over to the camera app and I'm going to scan that first QR code. You see how that first QR code has my network name? And it's telling me if I want to join that network. I hit join. Okay. Sorry. Now, once it's connected to that specific network, I'm going to scan the second QR code and I'm going to click on it right here. You see, there's my video. This is no internet solution. You see both my videos made it, right? Tap to download. You see how quick this was? It says download. It's downloading. You see that little circle down there that says download? This is an iPhone type of thing where you do need to follow these steps real quick. So it's downloading that file. Once it's done downloading, I'm going to click on that little circle, go over to downloads. It's right in here. Now I can play it or save it onto my camera roll. Click that to save to my camera roll and play it on here. Super simple to use. This requires a $75 investment or $79 investment, and you guarantee delivery for all your files, no matter what, no matter if you have internet. And look what it says. You'll get this every now and then. My phone is detecting that I don't have an active internet connection because I'm logged into that router, obviously. And it's telling me, do I want to go on data mode or Wi-Fi? And I just want to keep trying Wi-Fi because I want to stay there, right? So now what I can do is go back, hit my camera, go back to that, go back here, right? And I could download that second video if I want, right? There's that second video. And you're good to go. It's downloading. You're good to go. It's an extremely effective way of sharing. Like, I've never had an issue with this way of sharing. It's highly recommended. It's free. There's other companies out there that are charging you $1,000 for a similar experience like this to get your phones via the QR code. We're including it at no extra cost with your TouchPix subscription. So I think this value in itself is worth every penny, because you're not incurring an extra charge. You're guaranteeing delivery to every guest at any event, whether you have good internet, bad internet, cell phone coverage, no cell phone coverage, no hotspot, you're good to go. All you need to invest in is in a $79 router, and you're off and running.
So DJ, so in each session create its own QR code through this kind of sharing patterns.
Yeah, so the part that I didn't show, and I'm going to show it right now. And so this is the part that I didn't show. This is just your QR code. Essentially what you can do is copy these 2 QR codes and put them on a picture frame, and you can just leave them on a table. But if guests still want to send themselves a text message, they can click on this screen. This is just a screensaver. So if they click on the screen, this is your normal sharing station. You can still text. You won't receive it because it doesn't have internet.
Yeah.
But once you connect to the internet later, you can resend everything again. You know, so it's a fallback, right?
Okay.
So to answer your question, right? To answer your question, here we go. I'm going to exit off the sharing station. Look, I'm going to go back into settings. I'm going to go all the way back into the router settings, right? So right there where it says show number of recent files, I have it to 4. You can set that to 2. You can set that to 1. I have it to 4. So in other words, whoever scans that second QR code doesn't get the entire web gallery. It can only see the last 4, or if I change it to 2, it could only see the last 2 videos, right? That way it protects people for privacy issues as well, because you don't want other people scanning, other people's videos. So you can change that to your workflow. So this is how that works. You guys have any questions on that?
Yeah, that's fine. So this is when if your sharing station doesn't have internet, right?
Yeah, I would suggest if you're using a GoPro and you're using TouchPix, this is my preferred method of sharing 100% of the time.
Okay.
100% of the time. And I'm going to see if I can show you this real quick. I know I've already talked for days, but I still see you 55 people on, so I value your time. And I want to show you as much as possible because I get a little pumped up with all this stuff as well. So check this out. What I'm going to do is, what am I going to do? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can do this. I'm going to, with my finger, I'm going to, from the top right-hand corner, drag it down to the middle, and you're going to get a control panel. This option here with the 2 windows is for your screen mirroring.
Mm-hmm.
You see where it says 360?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's still connected to my other thing. Give me a sec here. Okay, give me a sec. My other phone is still screen mirroring. Let me turn it off. Let me see if that does it. Okay, so it's the computer. Give me one quick sec and I need to shut off my screen mirroring on the computer because that's how I show people. Give me one sec real quick. I'll come right back. So let's go over to. I'll take a couple extra questions if you guys, while I set this up real quick.
So do you recommend the latest M1 HiPod? Does it does a better job with the GoPro 10?
I think so. I mean, I like.
I have GoPro 10, so I'm just thinking of getting an iPod to be because I kind of.
You know what? I came from the PC land, and I was a big Android user before I got into all of this.
So do I.
But
right now.
but right now I'm all Apple, man. I'm really impressed with the M1 chip.
Yeah, sure.
You know, yeah. I got a MacBook Pro with the M1 chip, and pretty soon, like, I can't announce the details, but we're releasing a bombshell.
Okay, good.
In February, and it's all related to the M1.
Oh, that's cool. Sure. That's good.
So for sure, I'm gonna be super happy with the way that works.
That's good.
Do you need the router if you're using the Apple TV and just iPhone?
No, you don't need the router. I mean, if you're gonna use SCANPIX, yes, you need the router. But if you're not planning on using SCANPIX, then no.
Can you just clarify what SCANPIX is again?
SCANPIX is a way of guaranteeing your delivery of files, whether you have internet connection or a data plan. So if you're out in the middle of the ocean doing an event, which you won't be, but if you are, and there's no internet connection and you're worried about how your guests are going to receive the files, by using SCANPIX in the router, you're going to guarantee every guest get their file no matter what. It's that powerful. It means that in the long run, if you're investing in a hotspot, you don't need to invest in a hotspot. This saves you money. It saves you that monthly fee that you're spending on the hotspot, because this method will guarantee delivery of every file.
Okay. For the router then, would it be able to connect? Because I know at least for the screen mirroring for the Apple TV, it has to be on the same internet. So I would just put the router from my phone, the same internet and the same internet on the TV then, and it would work.
Okay, run that by me one more time.
So if I were to get the router, the idea of a router is just like a Wi-Fi type, right? It's like a Wi-Fi box.
Correct.
I would connect the Wi-Fi from my phone. That's what I use for the 360. And then I'd also connect Wi-Fi on the Apple TV, and it would still work then, correct?
Yeah, the Wi-Fi on your phone is strictly optional. You don't really need a Wi-Fi on your phone for it to work. The way it's designed is it can work without it, without any Wi-Fi. Your
It's
phone should
kind of
be,
a- Yeah, it's kind of a Apple protocol. If you have an Apple
Yeah.
device with an Apple TV, they just work together because of the protocol. They talk to each other. You don't need the
yeah,
internet.
yeah, you don't really need internet to run it. But yeah, I mean, it runs with internet, but it also runs great without it.
Just because I had an expo that I did a while ago, and so there was like a lot of people there, probably over like 3,000 people, and I just kept running into the issue of like not having enough internet
Yeah.
service there. But that was
But-
also a big quantity of people that I don't plan on seeing when I do like just a regular event. But I did notice that since I just had my iPhone that was on the actual 360 and I had the Apple TV there, when I did the QR code for the people, it just wouldn't load up, or it would just take too, like even if it did load up, it wouldn't show up on the people's phone. And I would just assure them I would come later, but then I realized that it never did come later because even I tried it on my phone.
Yeah, so let me back up real quick on that. So it will come. It will come if your internet's good. The only experience that right now we're looking into that we've detected is really not even on our end. It really has to do with the T-Mobile network. So if you have T-Mobile or Boost, which is the same network, there are really filtering the messages, right? The text messages. So we've put in so many different calls to get that looked at, even through Twilio, through our provider, but everything points to T-Mobile. But to go back up on your experience at that expo would have been perfect to go with the router and SCANPIX, because you would have guaranteed delivery. It's specifically made for that specific reason. When you're dealing with, internet connectivity, everybody logging into the same credentials, or huge events where, there's just connection issues or throttle issues, right? This is what SCANPIX is made for. It's made for that and to deliver the product immediately.
Can I throw in one thing there regarding the T-Mobile? I'm on T-Mobile too. You might, if you're on T-Mobile, you might want to check if you have your Scan Shield app on. You might want to turn that off. Maybe that will help.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good tip. I'm not on T-Mobile. I'm a Verizon guy, but we've been experiencing some difficulties with T-Mobile specifically. I think it's even made our website as a warning, just because we've reached out to a lot of their reps. We've reached out to Twilio, and right now it's like a circle game. Everybody's pointing the finger on somebody, but we don't experience those same issues with AT&T, with Verizon. We don't experience any of those issues with those networks, right? Everything is working solid. The only frequency we see is with T-Mobile. Everybody's using T-Mobile. Are you guys able to see my screen now? Because I want to go into.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. So this is what I wanted to show you guys real quick. Okay. Well, I guess I'll do it from here. So this is what I got going on. I'm gonna go ahead and flick it from the top right-hand corner down. Then I'm gonna click the Apple mirroring, right? And I'm gonna click on the 360. That's my Apple TV. It's asking me for a code for my TV. My TV is right up here. It just gave me a code 8222. So I'm gonna connect to that, right? And I'm gonna leave it mirroring. And I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna actually set up my receiver again because I had disconnected it.
Where do you keep the money?
Let me see. Okay, here we go. So I'm using my iPad. I'm using SCANPIX. That's SCANPIX. And now, whoa, this is where I messed up. Where did I mess up? Okay, this is where I messed up. Let me go back out of here real quick. I'm sorry, because I'm trying to go quick because I know people have been on here a little long. So I'm gonna go, I want to go over to TV session. For TV session, when you're gonna use it, you want to make sure slideshow under TV session, slideshow is always on. And I'm gonna go back. Right, and then now I'm gonna go back to create my sharing station. Sorry, this is I just missed that step where TV is always on. So now it's gonna connect back to my sharing station, but I also have it as my I also have it as my my SCANPIX. So this is my recording device. This is my SCANPIX device, and now my TV on the Apple TV is gonna be doing my my video slideshow.
I understand.
So you're gonna get the best of all the setup, right? This is on slideshow mode. This is gonna be on sharing station mode, and this is your capture device. This is how you incorporate all the devices all together, right? So I mean, it's a fairly slick way of doing things, but it all works. So let me go back here real quick. So as you can see, the slideshow is playing the videos, right? It's playing the videos. That's probably one of the first videos I showed you guys. But that's how it's going to look, and it's still going to give you QR codes. Yeah, it still gives you everything. So that's in fact how you connect your GoPro 10 to SCANPIX. You can still have SCANPIX on here, right? You can still have SCANPIX on here. This is your GoPro controlling. This is SCANPIX. This is you can still shoot off text messages if that's what you want to do, right? So it all varies on what you want to do, but everything works seamlessly together. It does seem like it's a lot because I showed you a lot of different techniques today, but you guys are learning how to put everything together. So if I was starting and I got into this webinar, I would focus on making your connection to your GoPro first and your sharing station. If you guys feel really confident and you guys are okay with technology, this is a no-brainer. This is a great investment. $70 one-time fee. You don't pay nothing additional, no monthly fees, but this is going to save your behind countless times, right? Because a lot of us do events sometimes where we're doing weddings in a barn, you know, weddings out in a secluded place where there's no signal, no matter who you use. So you can't use a hotspot because your cell phone signal doesn't work. So this is the answer to sharing your files, and the best part is that it's free. SCANPIX is free, so that's going to get you your money's worth by itself. So yeah, the router, it's at Walmart. TP-Link AX3000. AX3000 is a brand. You guys have any questions? I know I went fast towards the last part, but I wanted to include as much as possible. And I know people have been asking for SCANPIX and how to do it. It's not a hard process to do. You guys can go over to the TouchPix YouTube page. It gives you a better idea on the beginning of the setup process. You do have to change the Wi-Fi name and the Wi-Fi password, but once you get past that, the rest is simple. You come in here and you punch it in on the web trigger on the web server side, right? You punch it in here again, go over to settings, toggle over to where it says web server. Make sure that the web server is off first, and then fill in all the blanks, and then click on web server on. And if you're able to scan those 2 QR codes at the bottom and it's a successful scan, then you're good to go to do any event. So meaning that once you set this up for the first time, every single event that you go to, all you have to do is take this router with you and plug it into power, and that's it.
Yeah, that was my next question. I always wanted to ask if just a one-time setup, or do you have to do it all?
It's
each
a
time you have an event?
it's a one-time setup because
Okay, good.
the Wi-Fi name is never going to change. The
It's not gonna
Wi-Fi
change.
password is never going to change.
Mhm.
All you have to do is make sure you come over here, plug it into power, then you have to enable the web server, and you're done.
Done.
Yeah, it's a simple process. This seemed like
And
a lot.
DJ,
Go ahead.
for confirmation, I know in the old SCANPIX you had to hardwire the iPhone when using it with GoPro. So just address that because that's another question.
Yeah,
that comes
no,
up.
that was like at its infancy when we barely came out with the technology, right? Yeah, with the GoPros, there was a limitation. Now you don't need to hardwire anything. You don't need to hardwire. As a matter of fact, if you want to take it a step above and be very advanced, if you do want to hardwire, you can. So in my case, I'm a little advanced with technology. If I have a hotspot, the way I would do my setup, right, is I would use a hotspot, right? I would get a USB-C hub. I'm going to see if I have one here handy. Give me 1 second. I don't even know if I should confuse you. Okay, so I would get this is a USB-C hub right here, right? USB-C hub, because my hotspot has a USB-C plug, right? It only works with USB-C hotspots. So I would plug in this hub to my hotspot, right? This gives my hotspot an Ethernet port. I would plug in an Ethernet port from here over to the router. So my hotspot will give this internet if I wanted to, right? It's a little advanced. I don't want to confuse you. You don't need it, but it will work if you ever do need the best of both worlds.
That's true.
Okay, I know there's 21 of you still on the call. Definitely, I could probably spend another 5-10 minutes for questions. If you guys have questions, if not, I definitely value your time. I appreciate you guys staying on board. This was a long webinar. I covered a lot, but I think it was necessary. It's been a while since I've done a GoPro setup. I think this gives you a better idea on how they all work together. Stay tuned till next month. If you guys are able to make the show in Las Vegas, stop by, say hi, stop by some of our booths, see some of our new
innovation
in the works. And I think you guys are going to be pleased after February with some of the new stuff that's coming out.
That's good. Where did you say we should, because I asked about the iPod sharing station stand. Where did that shows?
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just turn this off real quick. I'm gonna open the chat real quick. Let me see here. Up share. Okay, so I'm gonna open the chat and I'm gonna put in my email. If you guys want to reach out to me, have some specific questions.
Okay.
My email is dj1@touchpix.com.
DJ1 the number or DJ1?
DJ1 spelled out, yeah.
Oh, DJ1 spelled out.
Yeah, it's on the chat now, and you guys can always email support@touchpix.com as well. Yeah, we're here for you guys. We want everybody to be successful in this business, but if you guys are using our products, we want to educate you to the best of our ability. That way your output is fire. We want fire output out there, right? And we see a lot of variations of levels of skills that people have. And, people say, well, they're using TouchPix. No, because I've seen some great stuff being used, being shot with TouchPix, right? But I also see some very beginner level stuff out there. It's not me to judge who's who or what's what. Everybody's going to offer a different type of service. but it's my responsibility to teach you guys to the best of my ability. That way you guys understand how everything works and how everything gets presented to your client, right? Obviously, everybody's got to start somewhere. I agree with that, but I'm confident that if you guys keep practicing, you guys ask questions, you guys are involved, you guys can be making that pro level money, not a problem.
Now, how do we get to this webinar that you just did? When will it be? How can we see this again?
It'll be up by tomorrow noon time. Give me a second because it takes a little while for this to render. Then I got to shoot it over to my YouTube page and upload it there. So give me till tomorrow. Give me till tomorrow afternoon at the very latest, right? But it'll be up and going by tomorrow.
And that'll be on your DJ1 at TouchPix.
Yeah, you can shoot me an email there and I'll shoot you a link. Tia just tagged my YouTube page. If you're not part of that YouTube page, you can get notifications, subscribe, and you'll see when it gets uploaded, you'll get a notification saying, you know, new webinar uploaded.
Okay.
Hey, I appreciate everybody. Tia, much love to you. I appreciate you staying on. Like I said, we got to get you on our team at some capacity. I'm talking to Charles and Martin. Hopefully we can make that happen. You've been great help and just definitely appreciate you taking the time to help me out doing this webinar and answering some questions. But everybody else, I definitely appreciate you guys is willing to learn. This is not easy stuff to sit through for the amount of time that you guys just, you know, sat through this class. But I think it's an essential class. I know a lot of you purchase spinners where they're offering you 30-minute trainings. 30 minutes is not even scratching the surface. There's so much to this software, and I want you to be the best that you can be in your specific craft. So always ask questions. I'm willing to help. You know, you guys are using our product. I want you guys to be throwing out nothing but fire content out there, right? So that's my job to educate you guys on that end. Appreciate you guys. I'm gonna log out. Thank you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good night. Good
All
night.
right, man.
Yeah, bye.